Hello, and welcome to coverage of Grin's Gore, which is the final tournament for the Vostum rotation of Custom Standard. I'm Caillou, and today we're going to be watching the Swiss Round 1 match between Wizzerinus, who is playing Green-Black The Rock, which is basically Green-Black mid-range, and Phoenix Star, otherwise known as AllWhoWander, who's playing White-Black Rapture Rejects, which is basically a fancy name for what is essentially white-black aggro mid-range, which has some disruptive elements. So Wizzerinus is going to keep this hand, has 3 lands, a Boiling Outflow as a turn 2 play, and then Make Praise as Disruption until he can hit Tradition. So Tradition is probably the signature card of this deck. It used to be a mid-range staple back in the Scriptures of Urshad rotation because of its great power at like allowing you to have recursion and basically producing card advantage. However, in the rotation since then, lots of good enchantment artifact removal has become main deckable, and as a result, Tradition's favor like star has fallen. Also, there are now threats like Liminal Observer, which is a 4/4 for 2 colorless, which allows you to draw a card at the start of your upkeep. Those sorts of 4-drops are more in favor because they present a threat as a board presence, but also generate card advantage if left unanswered. So, however, Wizzerinus is aiming to show that Tradition decks can still compete in the meta, so let's see if that's true. Anyways, Wander going to start with an Abandoned Excavation, immediately removing the charge counter to play Supply Raid. It's basically a Thoughtseize, but your opponent can get the card back if they can deal combat damage to you. With that in mind, I think it's pretty obvious that Wander's going to take the Boiling Outflow, because that's the only thing that in Wizzerinus' hand that can generate creatures. It's basically a Bitter Blossom, but side-graded. The creatures don't have evasion, but you can sacrifice them to generate card advantage if you need it. So yeah, it was good that Wander was able to grab that, because his hand, other than that, is all lands, and the Phantom Walker being a vehicle isn't really a good threat to have. But unfortunately, Wizzerinus top decks another Boiling Outflow, so that's definitely bad news. So Wander is going to play Fractured Remnant and then run out the Phantom Walker. Top decks a Mana Confluence, though. These are a bunch of lands which Wander does not need. On upkeep, Wizzerinus makes an Elemental token. And wow, Wizzerinus is also like, you're not the only one who can have cards of the same type. I will draw 3 Make Praise. Ooh, and Wander just top decks another land. So now Wizzerinus can attack and then immediately grab the Boiling Outflow and play it. And that's a Swamp. Actually, so is Wizzerinus going to play Tradition this turn, or is he going to Boiling Outflow? I think he should play the Tradition, because if you resolve and can keep a Tradition until it gets to its final mode, you're off to the races. Also, for those of you who are wondering about the templating of Tradition, it's basically... It's a Discovery, which is a type of enchantment where it's like a Saga, but then instead of having a powerful final effect and then going to your graveyard, it has a powerful static effect and sticks around at the final mode. But yeah, it looks like Wizzerinus is going to actually crack both of his elementals with a Boiling Outflow, draw 2 more cards. Only hits lands though, so probably just going to play the second Boiling Outflow and then pass. Yep. Oh, and Wander... First, basically relevant non-land card has an Inishtu Desert Healer. That's a good blocker, but it won't really get to do much because of Make Prey. The main thing is it will give Wander the Surveil trigger. So yep, running out the Inishtu. Yeah, okay. Fractured Remnant, another land. Definitely don't want that, so it's good that Wander was able to surveil that into his graveyard. Meanwhile, Wizzerinus, basically if he wants to keep up the aggression, has to Make Prey the Inishtu here, but then after that can handily Tradition next turn if Wander doesn't top deck another blocker. And even if Wander does top deck blockers, Wizzerinus has Make Prey for days, and so can keep using this to kill Wander's threats. But looks like Wander isn't getting a threat, has a Wander the Unknown, which is the format's premier removal spell. It's basically Path to Exile, but costed up by 1. But yeah, single target removal doesn't do much against this onslaught of elementals. Wander does have the Fangmarked Cave, but flipping it at this point would do him more harm than good. because Wizzerinus can immediately kill the creature side of it with Make Prey, and then use the life loss that Wander sustains from having to transform it and convert that into a win. So Wizzerinus is not hitting any new cards, so probably just going to run out the Tradition this turn, and then swing for 2 with the Elementals. The Tradition life gain will be very valuable in offsetting the life loss from both these boiling outflows. So yeah, swinging for 2 with the Elementals. Did Wizzerinus play a land this turn? If not, could potentially crack 2 more Elementals for card draw. But yeah, no, it's just going to play Tradition, gain 2 life, mills an Initiative of his own. That's the first castable threat that he mills, and it's a pretty good one, because Initiative transforms into an even more powerful creature if you have 7 cards in your graveyard, and the mill with Tradition helps you get there. And Wander hitting yet another land off the top of his library. It is a Starved Oasis, which is a fine blocker. Oh, it also allows Wander to... He can pay 2 life and then have it crew the Phantom Walker and then swing in with that. Yup, that's what he's doing. And then Wizzerinus doesn't really have an answer to Starved Oasis because it's sorcery speed. Make Prey sorcery speed. Wizzerinus is just going to take the 5 here though, and then on the crackback can Make Prey the Phantom Walker. Okay, on upkeep, loses 2 life and makes 2 more Elementals, but also gains 2 life from the Tradition triggers. Oh, and hits a Sporeflow Protector. That's another powerful go wide threat. This is probably the best thing you can be doing for 2 mana in this format. It's got a solid defensive body, and you can play aggressively with it. It has a lot of versatility because you can germinate at instant speed, so you can act as a combat trick. It acts as graveyard hate. Sporeflow Protector really does do it all. And then yeah, after attacking, just gonna Make Prey the Phantom Walker, and then yeah, run out the Sporeflow Protector. And now Wander, there's no point in Wander really using Starved Oasis, because if he tries to attack with it, it just gets chumped by 2 Elementals, and then he loses a land, and he also loses 2 life. On end is going to Wander the Unknown, the Sporeflow Protector, and Wizzerinus doesn't have enough mana open to actually activate Sporeflow Protector in response. Oh wait, he does, never mind. He has the Mushroom Bog and the Deserted Trail. So he's going to exile Phantom Walker and the Initiative from Wander's graveyard, and then make a Saproling token. And the good part about Wander the Unknown being in exile is that it prevents Wizzerinus from replaying it with Tradition. Wizzerinus does still have access to one of these Initiative Desert Healers. I'm surprised he milled all 3 of them. Wow, that's some bad luck on the mills for Wizzerinus. And Wander top decks a Phantom Walker, which can't really put the aggro on right now because Wizzerinus can just hold back blockers for this Phantom Walker while still attacking with the Elementals. And the problem is, like, every time Wander has to activate the Starved Oasis, he's hemorrhaging life. Okay, Wizzerinus's Tradition is now online. And oh, a Tempered Oncolim. So if Wizzerinus attacks with everything, he can get in a maximum of 7 damage, assuming... Oh no, so Wizzerinus is going to run out the Make Prey, kill the Phantom Walker. Actually, yeah, if Wander Starved Oasis, Wander actually loses more life. So let's say he gets the full 8 damage in here. Oh, no, just 7. Never mind. And then can Tempered Oncolim, though, to drain Wander for 3. Okay, you got an Initiative from Grave. Not going to Surveil it. Interesting. But is going to run out the Tempered Oncolim and then put a Wander to 1 life. Actually, no, is not actually going to drain Wander. It's going to buff up his own life instead. And that's a Starved Oasis from Wander. Wander got so flooded this game. And yeah, doesn't have a response to all of these, the huge board that Wizzerinus has built up. And deciding to go out on his own terms, Wander's going to activate Starved Oasis twice and kill himself. But yeah, that was a painful game 1 for Wander. I think it was really unfortunate, him getting so flooded. And Wizzerinus did get pretty lucky hitting that boiling outflow right after Wander supply rated his only boiling outflow from his hand. But before we go to game 2, let's look at what sideboard adjustments each of these players can make. So looking at Wizzerinus' sideboard, Out of Date might be a good removal spell here. Imperial Brutality might hurt him more than it hurts Wander, but Wander does have a decent number of creatures that have a low power toughness, and he's trying to go reasonably wide, but also he has stuff like Queen Hanaru, which buffs up PT. Into the Lion's Den is just good, and Banish is probably one of the best removal spells in the mid-range matchup. So I think Banish is coming in, maybe the Out of Dates, and I think probably the Into the Lion's Den. But other than that, I think Wizzerinus' main deck is reasonably well teched out for this matchup. Meanwhile, on Wander's end, maybe the Imperial Claims, because Tradition and Boiling Outflow are both must-answer enchantments. Revel in Perfection might do well against Spore Flow tokens and or Boiling Outflow tokens, so I could see Wander maybe bringing these in. Sick Nick, Baron of Crime is just another good piece of hand attack. I think it depends, like Sick Nick coming in depends on how much Wander believes the supply rates are good in this matchup. But yeah, I think Revel in Perfection probably as a 2 of, and Imperial Claim maybe as a 3 of is what I'm expecting to come in. Out for maybe like 1 or 2 Whispers of the Entourage, 1 Wander the Unknown maybe. Those are the numbers I'd expect to see. Okay, going into game 2, that's a 1-land hand for Wizzerinus, but he does have good turn 2 plays in Boiling Outflow. Don't think he should keep it. Yeah, Wizzerinus is gonna mull. This is a 2-land hand, better, and it still has Boiling Outflow. Wander is also gonna mull. This is a 3-land hand, or 4-land hand, but has the curve of Phantom Walker into Runic Sealer. Runic Sealer is one of the best hate bears in the format, which was given to us by Vostoom. It doesn't hit creatures, but it is really good for shutting down enchantments and other similar non-creature cards. But I specified enchantments because in this matchup, that's probably what it's going to be used to hit. So Wizzerinus playing a Slumbering Grotto, turn 1. This is another one of the transform lands from Rakoa. Then Wander going to pay 2, run out the Phantom Walker. Next turn can curve Runic Sealer into crewing Phantom Walker and swinging for a whopping 5. Wizzerinus, meanwhile, is going to play a Boiling Outflow. The problem is, Wizzerinus is Out of Date, which he did bring in from the side, is dead against Phantom Walker. Oh, Wizzerinus is actually not going to play the Boiling Outflow, going to play an Inishtu, surveilling a Tempered Onclum into his grave. But yeah, because Phantom Walker has Menace, Inishtu will not be able to block. Wander top decking is Starved Oasis. Another land is not really what he needs right now, but it's good in that it doesn't force him to lose life like the 2 mana confluences would. So yeah, I'm going to play a Starved Oasis and then run out Runic Sealer. My question is, I wonder what Wander's going to name. Maybe Tradition? Actually, Make Prey might be the card that Wander names right here. And yep, Wander is naming Make Prey. Then going to crew the Phantom Walker and attack in for 5. Wizzerinus is now on a 3-turn clock. Ooh, Wizzerinus's Eli Windsor would be really good here if he hit a 3rd land, but he doesn't, so I'm just gonna attack in with the Inishtu, surveil a Woo-Pip Bruiser into his graveyard. Yeah, getting non-land cards off the battlefield is a good call. Okay, so he's gonna Out of Date the Runic Sealer, which means Phantom Walker can only be crewed by the Starved Oasis at this point. If Wander top decks another creature, though, that's a Tempered Onclum. So if Wander goes, yeah, cannot also Starved Oasis, but yeah, I can Tempered Onclum, ping Wizzerinus for 3, and then crew Phantom Walker, swing in for 5. Then next turn, Wander can swing in for a total of 9 with Phantom Walker plus Starved Oasis. Wizzerinus has his 3rd land, but is it too little too late? Gonna Tempered Onclum, gain 3 more life. Wander does have a Wander the Unknown to be able to kill the Tempered Onclum, and then we'll still have 2 mana available to be able to turn on Starved Oasis and then attack in. Could also just Whispers of the Entourage and like play it safe like attack in with Starved Oasis and Phantom Walker, and then hold up Whispers of the Enteraki as a combat trick. Yep, is gonna do that. Starved Oasis is animated. Tempered Onkelim, gonna crew the Phantom Walker. I'm gonna swing for 9. And if Wizzerinus attempts to block, whichever one Wizzerinus attempts to block, Wander is gonna Whispers of the Enteraki. Yeah, Wizzerinus is gonna try and double block Phantom Walker. In response, Wander is gonna Whispers of the Enteraki it, make it into a 7/6, and so it'll survive and kill Inishtu and Tempered Onkelim on the crackback. So Wizzerinus needs to top deck a Make Prey right here, and does not. That's a Sporeflow Protector, and that's game, because Wizzerinus doesn't have any way to block that Phantom Walker. And wow, what a crazy curve that Wander had right there. Yeah, Phantom Walker is a pretty crazy card for sure if you can curve out with it well, and Wizzerinus just didn't have as fast a start or the right answers. Okay, going into game 3, we're faced with Wizzerinus having another 1-land hand. Gonna have to mull that. This one is slightly better. Does not have access to a turn 2 play, unfortunately, because both Deserted Trail and Slumbering Grotto entered tapped. But if Wizzerinus top decks another land, we'll be able to reveal it for Deserted Trail, and then can Spore Flow turn 2. Collapse the Pillars brought in from the side, which is interesting. It is a good answer to Phantom Walker, which, Wander happens to have. Also, Wander did bring in the Revelant Perfections, it seems. So right here, it looks like Wander's going to Fractured Remnant, Phantom Walker, or is it going to be Aether Conductor, actually? Because Aether Conductor, it is going to be Aether Conductor, because Wander doesn't have a third land to curve into Runic Sealer yet. Meanwhile, Wizzerinus doesn't have a land to reveal for the Deserted Pillars, but is just going to pay using Slumbering Grotto to kill the Aether Conductor. Wander going to run out the Phantom Walker here. Still has not hit a third land for... Wander did top deck a third land. Never mind. That's Starved Oasis. I missed it. So now Wander can curve this into Runic Sealer next turn. Wizzerinus has the Sporeflow Protector, but does not have the third land for Make Prey. Wizzerinus is getting so mana screwed. So now Wander can drop Runic Sealer, name Make Prey. Yup, it begins. This is looking like it's going to be just as much of a beating as last game. Oh, but name's out of date this time. Got spooked from the last interaction. Well, I guess Wizzerinus has both, so it doesn't matter which one Wander named. It does have a second Runic Sealer next turn, though. So, yep, Wizzerinus is going to Make Prey, kill the Phantom Walker, and now Wander's left in a much worse position. Oh, but top decks never fail to amaze. Does top deck Phantom Walker right there. Oh, but he's going to tap 3 for another Runic Sealer, naming Make Prey again. Yep, so is it trying to turn off Wizzerinus' removal? But if Wizzerinus top decks a black land, there it is, we'll have access to Eli in a bit. And Eli is slow, but inevitable removal. Instead, he's going to run out the Tempered Onkelim, probably gain back 3 life, yep. And there's Runic Sealer number 3. Is Wander going to run that out and name Eli? Or is Wander going to try to Phantom Walker? Is going to swing with both Runic Sealers? I guess the thought is he has Imperial Claim. He's going to trade both and then probably main 2, replay Runic Sealer, naming out of date. Yup, here it comes. So Wizzerinus is going to tap for Whoopip Bruiser. Is going to Germinate onto the Spore Flow and then can -3/-3 the Runic Sealer, naming out of date. And then Wizzerinus has access to both out of date and Make Prey in his hand, and Eli. He's going to attack with the Runic Sealer. Gonna double block. Wander can Whispers of the Enteraki and then kill both of them. Yep, that's what he's going to do. So they trade. Wizzerinus now, though, can play both of his out of date and Make Prey, and can hold out of date up while also playing Eli, and that's super critical. So now, if you're Wander, I think you play Phantom Walker this turn and then Tempered Oncolum next turn. The problem is Phantom Walker just gets Make Prayed here. Oh no, it's going to animate the Starved Oasis and then kill Eli. That's actually a very smart play. The problem is Wizzerinus has Out of Date to be able to kill Starved Oasis. Yup. And now Wander's down a land. Yeah, if Wander had just played the Phantom Walker there, I think it would have been slightly better. Okay, now Eli's just going to neatly tick up. So yeah, once again, I think, yeah, now is going to run out the Phantom Walker, but Wizzerinus is going to have the Make Prey to answer it. And on end is going to use Royal Domain to make a Petal token, just to ramp up in case. Oh, and there's an Inishtu. That's a good threat on top of the Eli. So yeah, Eli is just going to steadily tick up with these bullets, and then Wizzerinus is going to play the Inishtu, one card away from transforming. I wonder what's on top of his library. It must have been very good for him to not surveil into his graveyard. I guess the thought is Make Prey puts it into his... Make Prey makes 7 cards in his graveyard anyways. But yeah, Wander is really on the back foot now, and top decking a land is not what you want to see. It doesn't have any answers to anything Wizzerinus is doing. If he plays Tempered Oncolum, it dies immediately, because Eli can exile it with his -2. Inishtu is about to transform and become essentially an unkillable threat. But yeah, the only play that Wander has is to run out the Tempered Oncolum, and is going to drain Wizzerinus for 3. At this point, Wander just has to hope to keep hitting Oncolums and drain Wizzerinus out of the game. And yep, on upkeep, there are 7 cards in graveyard, so Inishtu transforms. And yeah, that exile ability is going to be painful for Wander, because it can undo all of the burn from Tempered Oncolum and help Wizzerinus stabilize. And then Wizzerinus can just hold up these bullets, save Make Prey for another Phantom Walker. Oh no, is going to run out the Make Prey to kill Tempered Oncolum. I think that was a bad move, a little bit hasty, but I don't think it's going to lose Wizzerinus the game right here. Okay, Wander has an Inishtu of his own. The problem is it immediately gets shot by Eli. So here comes Inishtu. And if Wander had another black land here, could maybe try to juke Wizzerinus out with Whispers of the Antaraki. On end, Wizzerinus is going to drain Wander 2 with Inishtu. Wizzerinus hitting a land off the top of his deck, but that's fine. Probably just, yeah, is going to attack with Inishtu. Wander has to take the 4. And then can... is going to crack Eli, ult him, and then probably just shoot Wander for 4 in the face. Oh no, it doesn't matter because he already dealt 4 damage with Inishtu. And then he's going to triple bullet, kill Wander's Inishtu, and is refilled back up. And unless Wander hits a Wander the Unknown, and wow, the top decked Wander the Unknown. That's literally the perfect card that Wander needed, because Wander can now Wander the Unknown this Inishtu. Yup. In response, Wizzerinus is going to drain Wander for 4 and has the bullet, so Wander is effectively at 1 life. This makes it so that Wander can't actually cast this Whispers of the Antaraki, so has no other threats. And then Wizzerinus does have the second Inishtu. Oh, and a Tradition. And the Tradition will let... Wander has the Imperial Claim for the Tradition, though, so that's fine. It's the Inishtu that's going to prove to be the problem. I feel like Wizzerinus's and AllWhoWander's decks have different playstyles, in that Wander's deck uses its life very greedily as a resource with stuff like the Starved Oasis, the Mana Confluences, and the Whisper of the Antaraki, while Wizzerinus's deck has a lot of life gain as stabilization. Anyways, Wander on end step gonna Imperial Claim, exile the Tradition, but he still needs to draw into an answer for this Inishtu. Wander can Revel in Perfection, but can't Revel in Perfection twice. Okay, Aether Conductor does function as a blocker here. Oh, the problem is Wizzerinus has the Collapse the Pillars to be able to kill it, and then that'll be game. Yeah, Tempered Oncolum will also do it. So yeah, Tempered Oncolum, drain AllWhoWander for 3. And whew! After a crazy set, Wizzerinus on green-black midrange takes it 2-1 over AllWhoWander on white-black Rapture rejects. Yeah, I really feel like this was a function of Wizzerinus' deck. If you can't kill it quickly, if you can just get that little bit of time to stabilize, it just runs away with that momentum. While Wander, it's the opposite. He wants to kill you at the early game and has lots of greedy ways of spending life to do that and has like lots of reach. But if you extend too far into the mid game, Wander's deck kind of putters out. But yeah, I think Wizzerinus definitely hit the right sequence of removal spells early in the game to be able to deal with the onslaught of runic sealers. And then I think naming out of date with the first runic sealer is what really sealed this game, because otherwise the Wizzerinus wouldn't have been able to make Prey the Phantom Walker as early as he did. But yeah, good games to both players. Excited to see both these decks perform later in the tournament, because I think Wander's deck has a potential to punish some of the greedier decks by aggroing them out, while Wizzerinus' deck is one of the first mid-range decks to not feature colorless in a while, and also to feature tradition. So it'll be interesting to see if Wizzerinus can make a statement about traditional mid-range decks being playable in the same environment as some of the more greedy, all-in, colorless mid-range decks we've been seeing in the format. But yeah, until next time, this is Caillou signing off.